A bisector by definition just means what? It just means whenever you have 2 points, we call this point Sunia, this could be point Matthew. Perpendicular bisector just means how do you draw the line that perfectly separates the distance between S and M. You do probably use a compass, certain distance here, same distance from M, see where they overlap. Remember that's how you do perpendicular bisector? Remember this is the definition of how you do perpendicular bisector, because notice how every single one of these points is exactly the same distance away from S as it is away from M. I think you can tell the general logic over here, what it means. My point is perpendicular bisector, that's a straight line. And you realize for every single equation of a straight line, that's what we're dealing with over here, every single equation of a straight line is just going to be, it's going to follow that really easy rule, y minus y1 equals to m bracket x minus x1. And you realize to use that formula, right, it's just going to be, you need an example of an existing point for the y1, x1, and you need an example of the gradients. So that's where we realize, okay, we need to use y minus y1 equals to m bracket x minus x1. And in order to use this, we're missing a gradient and we're missing the examples of points. Remember, by definition, if we want to show the equation of AB bisector is this, then we better find the equation of AB bisector. And what does it mean bisector? It just means it's perfectly halfway between A and B, isn't it? That's where we realize an example of a point of that line, because a line that perfectly splits A and B, A is a point, B is a point. The line that perfectly splits A and B. I'm explaining to you what you would understand about this question to be able to do it. We would realize that the line that perfectly splits A and B is definitely going to go through the middle of A and B. And we can tell that the middle of A and B is something we can find, isn't it? It's called the midpoint. So what I recommend in the exam, you just write down midpoint equals to -7 plus 5, whatever that is, divided by 2. -1, comma 3 plus 11, whatever that is, divided by 2. 7. So we've got the midpoint now. You can sort of see this is an example of a point that the line definitely goes through. So we already got y minus 7 equals to, this is just basics on how you use the straight line equation, the universal straight line equation. X minus -1 plus 1. We need to find the gradients. Remember what the gradient is? The gradient is going to be exactly perpendicular to the gradient between A and B. So think about the definition. If this is A and this is B, bisector just means this line, which is perpendicular to this line. So we can't find this one unless we find this one first, remember? So we find the gradient of AB. So what I recommend in the exam, you write it down. It doesn't take long, but just when you write it out in a detailed way, where it's very simple, right? You write down gradient of AB equals to. This is a really good habit to have because you don't get it confused. If you're under pressure, you have it all written over here very clearly. It's unmistakable, right? Hey, this is where we found the gradient of AB. It's a really good habit. 11 minus 3, for example, which is 8. 5 minus -7, 12, equals to, whatever that is, you could just use your calculator even, right? 2/3. And then you realize, write down gradient of perpendicular, because that's what you really want to find, right? It's just -1 divided by that, which is where you get -3/2. And then without further ado, that's the number you want to substitute for m over there. So y minus 7 equals to -3/2, bracket x plus 1. Very steadily, just do the math on this, do the basic algebra, times this is -1.5. Type on your calculator -1.5 plus 7. It's unmistakable, 11/2. And then you think about, well, what's the whole point? We want to prove it becomes this. We proved already right now it becomes this. How do we make this look like this? Are we on the same page here? That's what you'd realize you have to do. And you can tell, just come on, just from visual comparison over here, you just want to get rid of that fraction, right? And how do we get rid of a fraction divided by 2? Oh, we can times it by 2 is what we realize, which means we must do the same to the left-hand side. And then step by step, just trust the algebra. 2 times this, right? What's 2 times -3/2? If you don't know what that is, calculator it. 3x. 2 times 11/2, if you don't know what that is. You should, but if you didn't, just calculate that stuff and you'll get this. And then you realize, all you have to do to make it look like this is 3x to that side plus 2y equals to 11. And then you've proven it. Part B. Circle passes through A and B, center lies on this line. The mistake over here, if you didn't know how to do this question, would be trying to think left, right, and center about how exactly I'm supposed to start. If you're in a situation over here, because you're supposed to, when you look at this question, know exactly, start writing straight away. But I'm saying if you do happen to be in a situation where you're wondering how I even start, what I recommend is, because you can only sort of answer a question as much as you practiced. So I'm telling you right now in practice, how about whenever you do come across a question like this for coordinate geometry, circles, straight lines, that kind of thing, if you really don't have any idea where to start, probably start doing some diagrams to find where you would begin. Because just think about it this way. Do you know what the equation of a circle looks like? No, you do not. But you do know a circle always has to look like a circle, right? So just draw any general circle is what I mean. I'm not saying this is the circle that represents the circle equation we're dealing with over here. But I'm saying this is still a circle, and if you have A and B, you don't know where A and B is, but you can just draw any 2 points, A and B. Are we saying A has to be A and B has to be A? No, but we're saying in general, if we did have a circle in general, so there's a circle in general, if there's an A and B in general, there's an A and B in general, and we say the center lies on this line, we can put that as the center. If it lies on that line, we can just draw any random line, right? This is where we realize this diagram might look, this diagram looks random as fuck, right? Just like, how's this going to help? It's going to help because if you were confused about how to start the question and you at least drew this diagram, your diagram could look different to mine, but in general, it's going to be a circle, it's going to have 2 points, A and B, and it's going to have a line that goes through the center. You see my point? This is where you'd realize to do this question is, you think about it this way. Hey, at the very least, you should know that the equation of a circle involves what 2 things you need. You need to know the center and what else? Exactly, you need to know the radius. So which means if I want to find the equation of a circle, I would think about how do I find the center and how do I find the radius? Well, if I have A and B, do I have A and B? Yes, I do. I have the awareness from this question. I have A and B. I also know what? I've got the previous part, the perpendicular bisector, the line that perfectly goes through the middle like that. My diagram before, which looks random as fuck, suddenly, now, oh, wait. Isn't this the center? I mean, I don't know if you didn't really feel familiar with this question, you might sort of wonder if this is the center or not. I'm saying right now for this question, like the truth is that is the actual center. But I'm saying if you didn't know for a fact that's the center, at least it helps right now, doesn't it? At least you would have a very good guess. This is the center. You know what I mean? Like, even if you were, I'm saying, under the situation where you're still confused about the question, if you at least drew the diagram and then you drew where the perpendicular bisector is between A and B, because the real answer here, the correct answer here is actually this does indeed become the center. But I'm saying if you weren't sure if this is the center, at least you have a really good idea, a really good guess. If it turned out to be wrong, at least you had a really good guess. But in this case, it actually is correct. Like, this is indeed the center. And do you see how we arrived at that answer? Do you see, like, if you were confused about the question, I'm explaining the whole purpose right now is, if you were confused about the question, how you could have come to the right answer. I'm saying this indeed is the center, but I'm saying, like, if you weren't sure whether or not how to find the center, do you see how doing this would have helped you find where to look? And yeah, and now you realize the center, all you got to do is what? Find that center then. You've got the equation for the perpendicular bisector, you've got the bisector over here, you've got the equation for this line that goes through there. Isn't that just the point of intersection for the center? And that's how you start. So you write 3x plus 2y equals to 11. 12x minus 5y equals to 70. Now, there's lots of ways you can do this. You know how you can rearrange for the x or rearrange for the y, plug it in. That's really basic stuff. But because you have, yes or no, do you have the best calculator money can buy? You do. If you have the FX901ES, you have the best calculator money can buy. And remember the feature on the FX901ES that can shortcut this? You type in modes, you type in 5. There's 4 possible options on there. Do you see the top option says a n x plus b n y equals to c n? That's telling you the general equation of something times x plus something times y equals a number. Is this what we have here? Because that's the calculate instruction, right? We're matching it to that instruction. So you press number 1. And you should see in front of you there's 3 columns. Boom, 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 like that, yeah? Something here, something here, something here, something here, something here. Isn't this just going to be the number in front of the x? Isn't this just going to be the number in front of the y? Isn't this just 11? You see what we got? You see how you like apply that instruction so the calculator knows what to solve? So you press 3 equals, you press 2 equals, you press 11 equals. See how that works? This number, this number, this number. And then for the next line, right, it's asking for line 2, you press this equals. Not 5, but minus 5, I'm sure you know why. 12 equals, minus 5 equals, 70 equals, and you get x equals to 5, comma, y equals to negative 2. Do you see how you perfectly found the center? 5, comma, negative 2. And what's common sense tell you here? What are the 2 things you were looking for to find the equation of a circle, which is what the question's asking for? The center, you already found the center. All that's left is radius. Doesn't that just mean you want to find, like, would you need to be told that this distance and B would be the radius, or this distance and A would be the radius? Do you see how the diagram helps over here? I mean, your diagram looks random as fuck, but at least drawing the diagram where it at least is a circle and at least has 2 particular points, and at least shows the perpendicular bisector, you sort of see how that can help you arrive at the correct answer. As opposed to just sitting there and be like, well, what do I do? Yeah. Like, what we're really practicing over here is, best case scenario, of course, you do the question, you sort of you could tell straight away what to do. That's the best case scenario, obviously. But if you don't have that, what are you going to do? Just cry? Write nothing? No. No. You practice what you would have to do to help you find the correct answer, is my point here. And yeah, well, to finish this off this question, you've got the center, you've got A. Just maybe center and A or center and B. I prefer to deal with B because, well, 5, 11 is negative over there. I don't like negatives over there, so you just do 5 minus 5 squared. Remember the general rule for distance, 5 minus 5. So it's 0 squared plus negative 2 minus 11 squared. And that's where you get radius is equal to 13. So the answer is x minus 5 squared, you remember the center, plus y plus 2 squareds equals to 13 squared. The equation of the circle.